السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يوم ينفخ في الصور ونحشر المجرمين يومئذ زرقا يتخافتون بينهم إن لبثتم إلا عشرا نحن أعلم بما يقولون إذ يقول أمثلهم طريقة إن لبثتم إلا يوما ويسألونك عن الجبال فقل ينسفها ربي نسفا فيذرها قاعا صفصفا لا ترى فيها عوجا ولا أمتا يومئذ يتبعون الداعي لا عوج له وخشعت الأصوات للرحمن فلا تسمع إلا همسا يومئذ لا تنفع الشفاعة إلا من أذن له الرحمن ورضي له قولا يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون به علما. صدق الله العظيم. In the previous ayahs of Surah Taha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wassalam and different situations Musa alayhi salatu wassalam had to go through on the hands of Bani Israel. After that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us of Akhirah and telling us the reason for which those people were not able to hold to the deen, and that was forgetting the Akhirah and turning away from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although there were many other factors, and we talked about them in detail as we were talking about those ayahs, but here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning these two factors and these two very important reasons for them not to be able to hold to the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgetting the Akhirah and neglecting the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then He mentioned the punishment for these two sins. مَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْهُ فَإِنَّهُ يَحْمِلُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وِزْرًا. Whoever will turn away from this book will be carrying burden on the day of judgment. خَالِدِينَ فِيهِ وَسَاءَ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ حِمْلًا. This will be the worst burden to carry in Akhirah. After that reminder, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us few things of Akhirah, about Akhirah. What is this Akhirah? يَوْمَ يُنْفَقُ فِي الصُّورِ. The day when the horn will be blown, the trumpet will be blown. وَنَحْشُرُ الْمُجْرِمِينَ يَوْمَئِذٍ زُرْقًا. And we will gather the criminals on that day while being blue. The first thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about Akhirah, when that will be the day, يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ, when the trumpet will be blown. What is this blowing of the horn or the trumpet? We need to remember things that will happen in Akhirah. We cannot understand them in this world. How and what exactly those things are. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through some examples of things that we have around us, tries to give us similarities of things that will be in Akhirah. That, something similar to this will happen at that time. It's like when the ayahs talk about Jannah. No comparison between the fruit of Jannah and the fruit of this world. but still the similar names are used so that we can understand will be something like this. But in reality, there is no similarity as far as the fruit itself is concerned, in the taste of the fruit, in the smell of the fruit, in the results of eating the fruit, or food, or all the other things that we'll have in Akhirah. And not only of good, even of bad. Which means, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about Jahannam and the punishments of Jahannam, these are only some words that we use to understand something similar to this will be there. But would that fire be something like this fire? There is a big difference. The other punishments that are in Jahannam, would those be something that we understand in this world? Nothing that we can really understand in this world. They are far worse than what we see in this world. So, it's only using similar words or something that we have around us and we understand, so we can understand something similar to this will be there. Same thing is Sur, the situation of Sur. That the day of judgment will take place when the horn will be blown. Which means, by the blowing of a horn, all the people will die. Then again, as the horn will be blown, all the people will come back to life. What is this horn? How it will be blown? What type of noise is going to make that all the people will die through it, and then all people will come back to life through it? Of course, it's something that we will not be able to know and understand the reality of it at this time. But something that is telling us that as normally when, for example, in the armies they would like to gather a group of people, they may be blowing a horn or a siren, and by the siren people will know, okay, let's get together at this place. So using these type of sounds is a method of gathering people, of calling people, of informing people. So same thing on the day of judgment, something similar to this will happen, that Israfil alayhi salatu wassalam will have something like a horn that will make some type of, have a siren, and people by hearing it, the first time he will blow, people by hearing it, they will start dying, and the next time that he will blow in it, people by hearing it, they will start coming back to life. وَنَحْشُرُ الْمُجْرِمِينَ يَوْمَئِذٍ زُرْقًا. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as it will be blown, now we will start gathering the criminals. While being blown simply means that this is the second time. Some of the Mufassirin say that horn may be blown 3 times, and some of them are of the opinion that it will be 2 times, wallahu alam. Zurqa, while being blue, what does it mean? If it refers to human bodies, that a person's face, his body will be blue, it will be simply because the blood have dried out of fear, and the person looks like his face is blue, no blood. Other Mufassirin say that no, it refers to eyes being blue. And then it will mean either the person's eyes have lost this power of seeing, the eyesight is not there, and the person's eyes are turning blue out of fear. And it can also mean that normally in Arabian those days, they used to call a person blue eye. A person with, just like we have, we call it black eye. He gave you a black eye. Doesn't mean your eye is black, but someone really punched you around your eye. So, blue eye, they used to refer to people who are in worse, bad situation. In fact, their existence is also considered to be bad amongst us. That this is a person with a blue eye. Means this person is bad, and you can only get evils by him being around us, so you better keep this person away from us and you stay away from this person. So in this sense, it will mean that these people will be considered harmful people at that day. All people will be running away from them. No one wants to stay around this person. No one wants to see this person. So this can also mean as being blue. And of course, it could be both situations at the same time. Out of fear, people are turning blue. And then at the same time, there are people, because of their deeds, others are staying away from them and they don't want them to be around them. وَنَحْشُرُ الْمُجْرِمِينَ يَوْمَئِذٍ زُرْقًا يَتَخَافَتُونَ بَيْنَهُم. They will be whispering to each other, إِلَّا بِثْتُمْ إِلَّا عَشْرًا, that you have stayed there only for 10 days. Takhafut in Arabic language means when there is no movement, complete silence, and there is no movement at all. This is takhafut. But then, in the language itself, is used when there may be physical movements, but there is no talk. You don't hear anyone talking. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that they will be whispering to each other, إِلَّا بِثْتُمْ إِلَّا عَشْرًا, that you have stayed there only for 10 days. نَحْنُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا يَقُولُونَ. We know better what they would say. إِذْ يَقُولُ أَمْثَلُهُمْ طَرِيقًا, when the best estimator amongst them will say that إِلَّا بِثْتُمْ إِلَّا يَوْمًا, you have stayed only for 1 day. What this discussion will be about? Now, remember, this discussion is of the criminals, mujrimeen, wrongdoers. They are discussing among themselves. And they're saying to each other, how long did we stay? Where? Either they're discussing about how long did we stay in this world, in this dunya. Or they are discussing of how long did we stay in our graves, under that punishment. And Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu says, it may well be that discussion is about the time between the two times of blowing the horn. According to Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, there is a 40 years time between Yawm al-Qiyamah and Yawm al-Qiyamah and Yawm al-Hashr. The day when people would die and the day when people will come back to life. Israfil alayhi salatu wasalam will be blowing in the horn on the day of Qiyamah when all people will die. That will be the last day of this world. Then 40 years later, he will blow in the horn again, and that will be the first day of Akhirah. So there is a 40 years gap between the two blowing. And people, after that, the minimum amount of time people will be staying in Barzakh will be for 40 years. Now, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu also says that in that period of 40 years, there is no punishment for the sinners at that time. They will be out of punishment. So, from the time they were buried, that's the time from the time a person dies, that's his alam al-barzakh. From that time up to the day of judgment, up to the qiyamah, if that person is a sinner, he will be punished under the ground, in his grave. After that, on the day of qiyamah, that punishment will stop until Yawm al-Hashr, and then Yawm al-Hashr they will come back, and when the horn will be blown, and they will come back come back to life. That will be the day of judgment, and up to that time, people will not be having any punishment in their graves. So Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu says these people will be discussing about that day, on that day, about those 40 years, that for how long did we out of punishment? We were punished in our grave for a long time. Then for some time the punishment stopped. So some of them will say that the punishment stopped for 10 days. And whereas we know now, according to Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu's hadith, that it was 40 years. But they will think it was only 10 days. And one person will say, no, it was only 1 day. But of course, this will be only, remember, this discussion is referring to only these ayahs of Al-Quran al-Kareem. Otherwise, there are other ayahs of Al-Quran al-Kareem that clearly indicate that there will be a discussion amongst the wrongdoers and amongst the criminals on that day about how long did they stay in this world. That is another discussion. And those are other ayahs of the Quran al-Kareem that clearly say that كَمْ لَبِثْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ عَدَدَ سِنِينَ. How many years did you live in this world? So there will be a discussion for sure about how long did people live in this world. But in these ayahs of Surah Taha, what this discussion is referred to, according to Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, this is not the same discussion as the other ayahs are referring to. This discussion is about those 40 years of peace between the punishment, between the Yawm al-Qiyamah and the Yawm al-Hashr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, these people will be discussing it, and they will be discussing that how many days did we live. Now the discussion is by days, it's not by years anyway. And some of them will be saying 10 days. This will be the maximum that they will say. The least a person would say will be 1 day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَمْثَلُهُمْ طَرِيقًا. The best estimator amongst them will say it was 1 day. How come that is the best estimator? Whereas we know that 10 days is better than 1 day because they live years. This is comparing to the days of Akhirah. So comparing to the days of Akhirah, when a person, the best estimator amongst these people is the one who says 1 day, whereas the reality is even 1 day is not correct. It's less than a day. So, they lived in this world, and any person, all of us, will live in this world comparing to the Akhirah and the days of Akhirah, not even a day of Akhirah. So accordingly, the person who would say that we lived only for 1 day, his estimate is better than those who are saying we lived for 5 days or 7 days or 10 days, because they are not really realizing the length of the days of Akhirah. Anyway, this is the gist of the wordings of these ayahs. What is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us in these ayahs? What is the message of the ayah for me and you now? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us that no matter how much we live in this world, a day will come when all of us have to go. When يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ, when that horn will be blown, it's not possible for any human being to live after that in this world. That's it. That's the end of this world. That's the end of the life in this world. And no human being, no living being will be able to save his life after that. That's it. So even if we live for long, and someone will have the life of shaitan, what can we say better than this? That a person is having the life of shaitan and lives a long life. So what? What's after that? That's the important question. What's after that? It reminds me of a great scholar, Mawlana Shaykh Ali Thanwi rahmatullahi alayhi. He says, I was traveling and he had some excess baggage. He is about to start his journey on a train. So he goes to the person in charge and he says, I have an excess baggage and this is, see how much it weighs and charge me for it. So that person says, don't worry about it. You don't have to pay for it, just take it. He says, no, I can't do this. Don't worry, because I'm the conductor in this train, and since I'm there with you, so you don't have to worry about anything. No one is going to question you. So he says, I asked him, till what point you will be there? He says, up to that station. So I asked him, what's after that? So the next person is going to come after that. So what will happen after that? He says, then the next person that will come in, he is also my friend. I will let him know, and he won't trouble you. So he says, I asked him, what's after that? He says, according to your ticket, after that it will be your station where you have to go out, and you will go out. Said, I asked him, but tell me what's after that? So what do you mean what's after that? That's it. You go home. Take your baggage and go home. He says, no. After that, I will have to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala one day, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask me that he wasn't the owner and he did not have the right to let that baggage go. Why did you accept it from him? Why did you accept that offer from him? He wasn't the owner of the train, and he had no right to let you have that excess baggage in the train without you paying for it. So what's after that? This is the question. And this question comes in everything that we do. What's after that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains that in a beautiful way in Quran al-Kareem, where he says, يَوَدُّ أَحَدُهُمْ لَوْ يُعَمَّرُ أَلْفَ سَنَةٍ. There are people who wish to live for 1,000 years. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say, I won't allow them to live for 1,000 years. Okay. Say I allow them to live for 1,000 years. وَمَا هُوَ بِمُزَحْزِحِهِ مِنَ الْعَذَابِ أَنْ يُعَمَّرَ. Having 1,000 years of life will not save him from the adab. So what good are those 1,000 years are? I mean, he's not getting anything out of 1,000 years. Whether he lives 70, 100 or 1,000. Still, after that there is something else. Main thing is prepare for that whether you have 60 years or you have 1,000 years. If you prepare yourself in 60 years for that, you made it good. And if you don't prepare yourself even in 1,000 years for what's coming after that, what good those 1,000 years are for you? So the main thing is not how much time we get. It's as preparing for that day on remembering at every time what is coming after that. So at this time, our question, the first step of the question will be, I'm in this world at this time. What's after this? And right away, the second step is, I will be under the ground. That's it. It's only one step that we are taking. It's not that from here, I will be taken to the moon, and then I will live for 10 years in the moon, then I will take it down to the star, and then I have another few days on. It's nothing like this. That's it. It's only one step from here to there. And it's a matter of breath. Stopped, it's gone. The person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent every person with exact amount of breath people will be taking in this world. إِنَّمَا نُعِدُّ لَهُمْ عَدًّا. We are counting each and everything for them. Each and every breath also has been counted. That's it. When that number is done, the person has to leave. No choice. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us, a day will come when everyone will die. Now, me and you and all of us need to think what will happen to this to us after that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that if, God forbid, any person goes as disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there will be a territory of al-mujrimeen over there. In Surah Yasin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, announcement will be made. وَامْتَازُوا الْيَوْمَ أَيُّهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ. All criminals, today you are not allowed to stand with good people. امْتَازُوا الْيَوْمَ. Today, you criminals, stay away from these virtuous people. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in the hadith, there are certain deeds that will not allow people to be with virtuous people on the day of judgment. There are certain deeds, God forbid, if a person will leave this world with those deeds, that person will be made to stand with criminals on that day in that court. It's the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be the judge. And there will be a room, there will be a space for those people, those who are criminals, known that these are criminals. Other people will be judged also. But they know that the group of people I'm standing with, at least there is a big hope that I will be able to make it because of the place that I'm standing in. I know that I have sins, and people will be afraid. As in one of the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, the hadith in Ibn Kathir, and tafsir al-Qurtubi also, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, on the day of judgment, some people will be trembling with the fear, and they will have so much fear that he gives the example, كالسعفة. They will be just like a branch of a tree that's moving out of a wind, and the wind is moving it. See how the branch of a tree keeps on moving up and down? This is how these people will be shaking on the day because of the fear. And here Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, فَجَاءَهُ حُسْنُ ظَنِّهِ بِاللَّهِ. The good hope he had with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world will come and will calm him down. And all the fear will go away. This person will be standing in peace at that point. حُسْنُ ظَنِّهِ بِاللَّهِ. His good hope with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that inshallah, I'm trying my best, Allah inshallah is going to accept it. It's not that, oh, Allah is a normal way, Allah is Ghafur Rahim, I don't have to even worry about it. No. I'm doing my best, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Shakur, which means He appreciates our deeds. I'm doing my best, inshallah, Allah will accept it. So that's Husnul Zan. Otherwise, normal thing that we consider Husnul Zan, Shaitan misleads us, and we consider that Husnul Zan. Hadith says this is not Husnul Zan, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in another hadith, الكيس من دان نفسه وعمل لما بعد الموت. Wise is the person who controls his desires and works for the life after death. والعاجز, now look at the word عاجز. And what's the description of عاجز by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? عاجز, loser, is the person من أتبع نفسه هواها, who keeps on following his desires, وتمنى على الله الأماني, and keep on having big hopes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without doing anything. This is a loser. But there is a difference between that loser and between a person who has a good hope. A person husnul zan, having good hope, means that a person is doing his best, and we do as much as we can to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whatever we can to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after all of that, if Shaitan tells us, your deeds are not going to be acceptable, we say, I know my deeds don't deserve to be accepted, but Allah is great. And inshallah, He's going to accept it, and inshallah, He will save me from the punishment. So that is Husnul Zan. After doing the deeds, we have a good hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without doing deeds, just having big hope is being a loser. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us on that day, mujrimeen, they will be together, they will be made to stand together. I was mentioning about those hadith, or I just wanted to make that point, that there are certain deeds that will prevent people from standing with Anbiya alayhim as-salatu was-salam and with virtuous people, and then they will be made to stand with al-mujrimeen, as the ayah says, وَمْتَازُ الْيَوْمَ أَيُّهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ, or criminals, you stay away today. Stay away from who? From the virtuous people. And one of the things Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned in the hadith that will make people be standing in the group of criminals and will prevent them from being with sulaha, with Anbiya alayhim as-salatu was-salam, is tashabbuh. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, مَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ حُشِرَ مَعَهُمْ. A person who tries to resemble any nation will be made to stand with them on the day of judgment. This is physically. That a person who tries to resemble any nation, physically, that person will be made to stand with those people on the day of judgment. So if a person is really trying to show that by his look, I'm not a mu'min, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, don't hurt me. Don't do nothing to me. I'm not one of those people. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, that will be the group of people that he's trying to resemble, he will be made to stand with on the day of judgment. Another thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Quran al-Kareem is people who lead towards any group. This is now mentally. mentally, people who lean towards any group of people, on the day of judgment, they will be made to stand with those people. And these people will be, on the day of judgment, on the Hashr, they will be standing in the group of those people that they were leaning to mentally. So a person may come to us and tell us, I really like you people and this, but mentally this person doesn't like this. He likes some other way of life better. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, this person on the day of Hashr will be over there on that side. And the reason I raise this point, of course, it's related to the topic here, but the reason I mention this, so that we realize many times, especially our children, they have no information whatsoever about the Sulaha of the Ummah, about Anbiya alayhim salatu wassalam, about Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, about Muhaddiseen, Mufassirin, Ulama, and the great people of the Ummah. They have no information about them whatsoever. So the only people that they really have any regards for are the people that they keep on watching on TV. This player, that actor, that singer. These are the only people that go through their mind. And really, they lean towards those people. وَلَا تَرْكَنُوا إِلَى الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا. Do not lean towards the wrongdoers. فَتَمَسَّكُمُ النَّارِ. Otherwise, the hellfire will touch you. And this is the beauty of Quran. Rukun means just leaning. Doesn't mean going and being with them. Rukun means only leaning. Zulm, the highest degree of zulm is shirk and kufr. Below this, anything that is out of the deen, against the sunnah, against the sharia, is zulm. Now look at the ayah, keeping this meanings and the meanings of these words in mind. وَلَا تَرْكَنُوا إِلَى الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا. Do not lean towards the wrongdoers. If you do lean, what will happen? Just by leaning, what will happen? فَتَمَسَّكُمُ النَّارِ. The hellfire will touch you. So if a person is not only leaning, he is just going there, then what will happen? So it won't be just touching now, because touching is only for leaning. So you lean, it touch. You lean more, it will touch more. You go, you will get in there. So, and this is the beauty of Quran. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains things in such beautiful ways. So, this is mental. Mentally a person is leaning towards zulm, and towards those who are doing zulm. And he likes that zulm. Child is walking, and he's acting in strange way for us, for me and you, in a very strange way. For him, he's acting in the best way of life. To him, that's the best thing he has seen. That's something that he really loves. So, this is rukun towards the zulm, leaning towards the zulm. And gradually, this leaning gets so much that it keeps on developing in their mind. And after really, if there was a scanner to scan their brains and to see what's in there, you won't see no picture of Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een and of Tabi'een, of the Sulaha, of the Ummah in their minds. Scan their minds to see what's in there. And these minds will be scanned on the Day of Judgment. That scanner will be there on the Day of Judgment that will bring out everything that's in there. Because the ayah says, don't lean. That's there. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us two groups over there. The group of mujrimeen and group of sulaha. Of those who are not mujrimeen, at least at this point. And, of course, amongst these people who are not mujrimeen, there is a group known to be mujrimeen. These are criminals. For sure, they know which side they are going, except if the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will get there and they will be safe. But on the other hand, there are people who still are not considered to be mujrimeen and criminals yet. But they have to go through the judgment. And of course, most of them are afraid that we don't know what will happen in the judgment because they remember their deeds. And we all are wrongdoers. So, there will be fear there, but there is a great hope at that time on this side because of the group of people that they're standing with. That inshallah Allah will have mercy on me because at least being in here. And if not, then I know him, and I'm standing with this Prophet of Allah. Oh, my son here is in this group and he's Hafiz. My father is here and he's Hafiz. Or there are so many of these kind of people in this group about whom Quran and Hadith say that they can intercede on these people's behalf. So one of these people may say, I know this person. That's it. Ya Allah, I would like to use that feature that you gave me of 10 or 70 or 100 people. Ya Allah, I would like this person to be in that group also. So this is why there is a great hope on this side, and these people are already considered to be mujrimeen, criminals. وَنَحْشُرُ الْمُجْرِمِينَ يَوْمَئِذٍ زُرْقًا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us on that day, these mujrimeen, they will be standing in their own group, they will be prevented from being with the sulaha, with the virtuous people of the ummah, and they will be now discussing amongst each other that for how long did we have that fun? Of course, mujrimeen, all they did is they were busy in wrongdoings, disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, they are just looking to enjoy their lives. So, they're discussing it amongst themselves. For how long did we have that fun? How long did we live in that world? For how long did I have all of that luxuries of the life? All of that I was having. How long did I have it for? And remember now, having these things is not wrong if it was used for the right thing. But their lives were only for that, and they ended up disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now they are discussing it among themselves and considering that life nothing. They themselves are considering it that it was too short of a time for us to have all of that kind of fun comparing to what we see in front of us now. So this discussion simply means they are feeling sorry for what they have done. And they're feeling bad about it. That, only for 10 days I'm going to go through all of this. Only for 1 day of having good time and fun, I have to go through all of this. I can't afford to do that. Really, it was my mistake. But of course, it's too late now. So it's a reminder for us that no matter how much we live, the maximum over there will think that we lived only for 10 days. That's the maximum we'll think we lived in this world. And the maximum time that we think we had some good time in this world. But after that, a point will come for the mujrimeen, for wrongdoers, that they won't even consider it for a day. They won't think that they even had that fun and that good life for even 1 day. As the Hadith says, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment will call upon a person who had the best life, which means most luxurious life in this world. He had all worldly means, never seen a hardship in this world. Means he was always having good time in his life according to his understanding. But of course, a criminal. According to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and according to the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's a criminal. So he spent his whole life just enjoying his life and this worldly things. And Allah even opened all the doors for him. So he had everything he was looking for in this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give that person a dip in the hellfire. Then Allah will call him and will ask him, tell me something about the good time that you had in that world. So he will say, Ya Allah, what good time? I never had a good time in my life. Yeah, you had it. This is a person who lived the best life from the worldly point of view, the best life in this world. No hardship. And that person, just after one dip in hellfire, his question is, Ya Allah, what good time? I never had a good time in my life. It's not that he's lying. He forgot about it. He forgot about all the good time he had. A person who's going through a lot of pain, and then he had severe pain for 2 days. In between that, for half an hour, the pain was gone. Then after 2 days, after half an hour, the pain started, and he's continuously in pain again. So now, after 2 more days, someone asked him, he says, tell me about that half an hour. What half an hour are you talking about? I'm continuously in pain for 4 days. That half an hour means nothing to him. I'm continuously in pain for 4 days. He doesn't even remember the good time he had during that half an hour. He remembers that, 2 days there and 2 days here, I'm really in trouble. So that person, just by one dip in the hellfire in Jahannam, will forget all the good time he had in this world. And of course, the other person who suffered the most, but a person with Iman and Amal Salih, suffered the most in this world, will be called and will be put into Jannah, and right away then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring him out. He just stepped into the Jannah and right there he's out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call him, Ya Abdi, oh my son, tell me about some of the hardships you had. Ya Allah, what hardship? I never had a hardship in my life. I don't remember any hardship. Such a time, just one step in Jannah makes him forget all the hardships of this dunya. That was enough. That was it. He doesn't even remember what hardship he had. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us that on that day there will be a group of mujrimeen. Those will be the people who will feel sorry for what they have done in this world. Instead of feeling sorry at that time, we need to change at this time. This is the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us. And this is the reason He's explaining this. And He's telling us of what these people will be going through, what these people will be doing in Akhirah, so that we will do the things that will keep us away from being any of those people. And we will do the righteous things and the right things that we are supposed to do in this world. And God forbid, we will not be the criminals in Akhirah. Because even in this world, we can't afford to be mujrimeen, criminals, in this worldly court. In this court, if a person is considered to be criminal, we know what will be the situation of this person. We can't afford to be criminals in the court of this world. Imagine being criminals in the court of Akhirah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from being criminals over there and being considered to be criminals according to Akhirah. And of course, that will be criminal is a person who breaks the law. That will be by breaking the laws of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Simple words, breaking the laws of the Sharia of Islam will make person criminal in Akhirah. And really, when we talk about laws, I don't want to go into the details of it, but I must remind everyone at this time, as we talked about laws and being criminals by breaking the laws, if we really look at our lives, we're really breaking so many laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we ourselves don't like people around us who are breaking so many laws of the countries. If a person will break these many laws of our country, of this country, we will not like that person, and we will dislike that person, disapprove of this person's actions. That how come you're breaking so many laws? These are laws. You shouldn't do all of this. And here, if we look at our records, we'll find that how many laws of Sharia we are breaking every day. And especially, say a person is about to get married, and he is in a hurry to go to the home. At this time, the person will be careful not to go through a red light and not to go through a stop sign. Why? If this person is stopped, is pulled over, and then if the crime is such that they may even arrest him for it, what will happen? What will be the situation of this person? So, at this time, I want to make sure that I make it there. I make it to the home. I make it to the place. I make it to the masjid. So, I'm in a hurry, but still I'm going to stop. I make sure that I don't get caught at this time. And these are the normally these are the times when we break the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm happy today, so I'm breaking every law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the day of Eid, so every law of the Sharia of Allah is being broken. That is the day when you really need to make it. When we are happy and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us a happiness in this world, so we need to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. And it's a time that Allah made us happy, simply means Allah is happy. Make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy by following the rules of the Sharia of Islam, and Allah will be happy with you. Today, He gave you that day of happiness, simply means Allah's rahmah is open for you. And here, today is the day when I'm just one after another, I'm neglecting the laws of the Sharia of Islam and disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously. So, laws of the Sharia, these are laws, and there will be a court where we will be questioned about, did you abide by the rules of the Sharia, by the laws of the Sharia? And criminals on that day are those who do not abide by the rules of the Sharia of Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep all of us on Sirat al-Mustaqim. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.